So in solving problems with area and circumference, we need to take into consideration circles are going to be involved, but we might be using radius, we might be using diameter, we might be doing circumference, might be doing area. One of the problems that is given to us is, what if we know a circumference? What is the area? So for instance, if we know that the circumference is 94.2, let's say yards, then what's the area? Well, in order to get area, all we need is radius. Well, can we get radius from circumference? Well, we start with the circumference formula, and since I want radius, I might as well write out pi 2r. You could just do pi times diameter, find the diameter, and then cut it in half. But sometimes when I do that, I think I have my answer when I'm done. So from the very beginning, I make sure I know what I'm going for. And then I plug in the numbers that I know where they go. So 94.2 equals 3.14 times 2 times the radius. I'm solving for radius. Well, 3.14 times 2 is 6.28. And then in order to find the radius, I simply do the inverse operation, which means to divide. That undoes the multiplication by 6.28. Divide by 6.28, and that will make it 1r. And then I just need to divide 94.2 by 6.28, and that gives me 15. So 15 yards equals the radius. And since I want to know the area, then I use the area formula, pi r squared. Substitute in what I know, which is pi, we're going to use 3.14. I need to square 15, which means times itself, not times 2. So that's 3.14 times 225, and then just use my calculator. And 706.5. And this time I put square yards. And I like to use SQ for my answer. So that's one way. Now we could do it the other way too, where we're given area and we have to find circumference. Well, that one's a little more tricky because we have to divide by, well, let's just show you. So what's the circumference of a circle that has an area of 254.34 square feet? Well, I start with a generic formula that I'm going to use, pi r squared, and then I replace area with 254.34. I'll replace pi with 3.14, and I don't know radius, so I just keep the r squared. So now the inverse operation to isolate r is to undo the multiplication of 3.14 by dividing both sides by 3.14, and that equals 81. Now how do we unsquare? Well, we unsquare by square rooting. So if I square root r squared, I just get r. So 9 feet equals the radius. And now I want circumference, and since I have radius, I'm going to use pi 2r. And then I substitute in what I know, so pi is going to be 3.14 times 2 times 9, which equals 3.14 times 18, because we are multiplying by 2, not squaring. And the circumference of this circle would be 56.52 feet. This is just one direction, this is not square feet. But a majority of the problems in this section will be composite shapes, meaning more than one shape. So you might have a square with a rectangle inside it. And the circle just touches at each edge. And then these corners will be shaded, and it'll ask you to find the shaded area. So of course the shaded area is going to be the square, the area of the square minus the area of the circle, because the circle is not shaded. Well, how are we going to figure that out? Well, they'll probably give us the radius. And let's say that that's 3. Well, the area of a square is just base times height because it's another kind of rectangle. And we know the base and height, because I mean if we just change where that radius is, this is also the radius, and that's 3. And if we continue down, this is also 3. So the height from here to here is 6. And if it's a square, that means from here to here is also 6. So I would find that area by doing 6 times 6 and then subtracting the area of the circle, which is still pi r squared. Now I don't want to go through all of that because the idea is that you already know how to find the area of the circle. But you would find the area of the square, which as you can tell would be 36, and then subtract pi r squared. And that pi r squared for the circle, well, the radius is 3, so 3 squared is 9. So 9 pi. So go ahead and multiply 9 pi out and subtract it from 36 and you'll have your answer. But I want to move on to some other ideas, because then sometimes they have something like a circle with 2 circles inside of it, one smaller, one's bigger, and they touch, or something like this. And so this area out here is all shaded, and they want you to find that shaded area. So really what I want you to do is just start thinking, how would I find this? Well, again, they're going to give you the radius, like maybe this is 5 and this is 2. And so, well, I still need the big circle minus the medium circle minus the little circle. Well, all of them are going to be pi r squared, but each radius is different. I know this one's going to be 25 pi, because that's the radius squared times pi. And this one's going to be, the little one's going to be 4 pi. But what's the big one? Well, again, if we think about it, this is 2, and this is 2. And this is 5, and this is 5. So the diameter is 14. So the radius on the big one is 7. And with a radius of 7, you square that, it's 49 pi. Now, you would still multiply 49 by 3.14 and 25 by 3.14 and 4 by 3.14, and then do the biggest one minus the medium minus the smallest one, and then you'd get your answer. But I want to talk about another one that is an interesting idea, which is they might have a rectangle in a circle. And then the circle will be, the outside the rectangle will be shaded. And then they'll tell you, well, this height of the rectangle is 5, and this length is 12, and then the diagonal is 13. Well, you don't need the diagonal in order to get the area of the rectangle. So again, this is going to be the circle minus the rectangle. Well, the area of the rectangle is still just base times height, and the circle is still pi times radius squared. And we know the base and height, that's going to be 5 times 12. But in order to get the circle, we need the radius. Well, the thing is, a rectangle inscribed in a circle, the diameter has to be the diagonal, or the diagonal has to be the diameter. So in this case, the radius would be half of 13. So 6.5. So you would square 6.5 and multiply that by 3.14. And then you would just do that minus 60, because that's what 5 times 12 is. So in this section, you basically just have to recognize the information that they've given you. They will give you enough information. You'll think maybe that you don't have enough information, but you have to recognize that you do have enough information. You just have to recognize it and then apply it.